right, welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Southampton Town Traffic Mitigation and Safety Task Force. This is its sixth meeting. Thank you all for being here. We're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have a packed agenda. Paula, are there agendas available for the public? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. We do have a packed agenda, so let's get right to it. One of the first items on the agenda, we've been talking quite a bit about speed cameras. There is a bit of sort of a nexus that we would have to navigate as a municipality to try to get speed cameras placed in the community. We need the state to also help us out with that, but I believe we have Stacy Noto of Logix ITS and Brandon Knox of Docra Tech, who might or may not be on with us just yet. But Kevin, do we have folks from Logix or Docra Tech with us? And if we could ask them to maybe raise their hand so we could put them onto the screen.
Yeah, I have them.
Okay, so they're welcome to present and introduce themselves. And by the way, we want to thank the Chief of Police and the department for helping us out with coordinating with Logix and Docra to give us some more information about the technology and what's capable.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stacy Noto with Traffic Logix. Also on the call is Brandon Knox with Docra Tech. We're here today to discuss a little bit about automated speed enforcement. Brandon, are you able to share your screen?
I just want to pause you for just one moment. Sure. Kevin, I don't see them on the screen. Oh, there we go. Now I see them.
There should be a presentation.
There we go.
Perfect. So want to welcome you all today. Traffic Logix and Docra Tech work together to protect roadways with speed enforcement, whether by warnings or by actual ticketing. So we're going to discuss a little bit about what can and can't be done. Currently in the state of New York, you guys are able to warn drivers. Unfortunately, you are not able to do ticketing at this time, but I know that legislation is moving towards municipalities being able to go that route in the future. So we'll talk a little bit about the systems and how warnings work and a little bit about the cameras, if that's okay with everyone. Brandon, next slide. So the 5 universal characteristics of automated speed enforcement is to change dangerous driver behavior, making your roads safer, ensure that owners of speeding vehicles are held accountable. We eliminate time, effort, and errors that stand in the way of citing speeders, and we create efficiency to reduce risk and offset costs to traffic enforcement. We also help your community move towards Vision Zero and eliminate traffic fatalities, and also help with freeing up law enforcement's time to do other bigger and better things in the community than monitor roadways for speed. The key features with our cameras, our automated speeding cameras are actually a LiDAR-based camera. They are accurate within about 6.5 feet and plus or minus 1 mile. We offer AC, solar-powered, and mobile versions with infrared, night vision, and color. We provide evidence packages that correlate with Docra Tech for multiple images with data bar and calibration certificates. It is a 16-beam multi-lane technology. We can do up to 3 lanes of traffic in one direction. And it's a secure SSL encryption. A little bit about the other key features is it's not an LPR. So we do use an OCR, which is an ocular character recognition, and integrate with the software that Docra Tech provides to look up license plates. We do not have access to DMV records unless Docra Tech is the one looking up those licenses. It is a rear-only plate capture. And the transmission to our server is within 25 to 30 seconds of an infraction that is captured. And we do offer a scheduling feature. If you wanted to put this in a school zone Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, we could do an option of that choice. Or it can be an automated threshold. When the threshold is exceeded, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Records of data of violated vehicles above the threshold is only when a vehicle exceeds the speed that the municipality or the police department set. So it's very important. If your police officer is pulling over a vehicle at 10 miles over, you would want to set your cameras to enforce warnings at 10 miles over. Next slide. A couple of pictures of our solar and AC powered cameras throughout the United States. Currently, the one to your left that's on a green pole, that is our AC hardwired installation. The three in the center are Schaumburg, Illinois, Mount Pearl, and Newfoundland, or Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, and Disney. And the reason we show this is Schaumburg does a 3-lane capture. So this is mounted on a pole about 14 to 16 feet up in the air. Mount Pearl, Newfoundland is to show that it can handle temperatures as low as minus 40 degrees. And the one to the right is in Walt Disney World on the way into the Four Seasons. And a fun fact about that camera, the first 2 weeks that it was up, that camera captured 18,500 violations. The one on the trailer is in Mendota Heights, which is another state that can only do warning purposes. The police chief there, Kelly McCarthy, uses her trailers to be moved around her municipality, where she actually mails out infraction warnings to violators over 20 miles an hour. The images captured by our camera, as you can see, are very clear. We can zoom in to see 6 still images of the rear of the license plate. The frame with the 16-beam LiDAR is the white Kia vehicle to the right. You'll also have the date, the time, the speed, the location of the speeder available to see as well, and the ticket number referenced inside of the system. As you can see with the 2 vehicles down at the bottom, the Nissan and the Mitsubishi, both of those vehicles went through one of our cameras, and both of those vehicles received a citation. The bottom right with the school bus, we like to let everyone know that nobody is exempt from getting caught. This vehicle was doing 57 kilometers in a 40-kilometer zone. This was in Montreal that this got captured. So we like to show that no matter the vehicle, we can pick up, law enforcement, we can pick up fire trucks, school buses, ambulances. So everyone that goes through and triggers the camera can cause the camera to take 6 still images of the vehicle. And I'm actually going to turn this over to Brandon to discuss a little bit about the warning processes that we integrate and do with Brandon's team.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brandon Knox. I'm from DACRA Tech, so I'm the part of the speed enforcement collaboration here between Traffic Logics and DACRA Tech. I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the steps that's involved in order to operate the processing and the software backend side of the system. So some of the first, there's about 5 different types of processes that need to happen in order to run this speed enforcer system. Obviously, the first piece, Stacy did a great job of showing you guys exactly how the cameras operate and how they capture the images and when and why they capture the images. So that first happens. The next step has been sent over to us through a proprietary API system that we process the tickets at that point in time. Now, obviously, like she said in the beginning, it's warnings only as of right now. So we can actually issue warnings and citations. We currently have the exact same statutes here where I'm based out of is Illinois, and we have a couple municipalities that are operating these cameras and a warning system here just outside the Chicagoland area. So they're actually operating currently the exact same way that we're proposing to you guys today. So we would process the warnings. Obviously there's no web pay in this scenario because there's no money to be transacted, but if it moved towards a citation-based system as well, you'd be able to have web pay linked directly to the system. Then there's a managing of the hearings. DACRA Tech is huge on due process. We are actually a local court system 25 years ago, and we morphed into obviously issuing virtual citations, e-citations, however you want to call them, got into the automated speed enforcement game along with Traffic Logics here a few years ago. And we can actually manage those tickets in the due process of the hearings and contesting and appeals of those tickets all the way through to collections as well as plate denials, if there is such a thing in the state of New York at this point in time. In Illinois, they allow people eventually down the line, they're going to be able to suspend their licenses and things like that that could submit up to the state. But again, we're only here for warnings, but what makes us kind of a unicorn in terms of this system is that I can take those citations all the way through the process. It's not just going to be held up in me just sending out mailings to everybody and getting notices out to people. We can actually have them being paid and then give the people proper due process through our portals. Now, in terms of resources that are needed to run these systems, obviously there's procedures, and then there's obviously the resources piece of this. This is the whole crux of how this system works. This is what is going to be used in order to operate this correctly. So obviously in the first piece, capturing violations, that's Stacy and their team. Obviously you procure the cameras directly from them. They will help you guys install them, calibrate them, get them up and running. They will then obviously push all those images over to our processing system. You'll have officers or authorized people inside your police department or your city hall that can obviously operate the system internally, and they are the ones that are going to be hitting whether you're going to issue warnings or not. They will obviously check for vehicle owner information, and they will honestly do a couple parts in the system, which I'll get to in a second. But pretty much they're just going to be verifying that there is a warning to be sent out. And then our mailing house takes it from there and sends out the warnings on your behalf. The processing of the web payments, again, that is another piece. If you were to go to citations, there'd be some financial people involved, clerks involved at the town level that would be managing payments, or it could be inside of the police department. And they will actually be kind of taking care of the financial pieces. So we can allow in-person payments as well as web payments. And again, the resources around that are going to be very minuscule because again, we are going to handle this at a very high level, and we are going to be basically pushing the payments directly into your guys' coffers every single month. Then we get to the managing of the hearings and the appeals piece. There is a citizen portal that people can go in, they can contest, they can visualize their infractions, they can also see the evidence packages that are pushed over from Traffic Logics, as well as the ability to request hearings if they ever got to that point. Again, this is going to be strictly if you guys go to a citation-based system. But that is something down the road that we can offer to you later on. And then obviously plate denials and managing collections. If you use a collections company, we can make sure we can push that data directly over to them after you follow the proper due process procedures of the state of New York, which we will fall in line with on any way, shape, or form. This is what was ultimately built. So from a development standpoint, we took the Traffic Logics camera system and allowed them to API directly all of the images, all the evidence packages, all the metadata directly into our system so that we can manage the tickets and the citations and push it all the way through into the mailing house. Again, this is going to be a warnings-based system, so there's not going to be a lot to do in respect of the back end portion of the system. It's going to be more so you guys tracking the warnings and pushing the warnings out directly to the respondents that are obviously violating. Again, the only things that get captured by the cameras as of right now, if it's only a camera system, is only the people that would violate. You are the ones that dictate those thresholds. So again, that is all up to you guys, and we kind of cater to what your needs are on these warnings. So we broke it down into 3 easy steps, okay? So step 1 is confirming that there was a violation. Now, we actually, as Dacratech, we are the ones that are gonna handle step 1 for you guys. So we're gonna look at it, we're gonna say, hey, these are the business rules that you guys put out in front. We're only gonna, obviously, you know, anybody that's 15 and over, let's just take that for example. We'll say anybody that's 15 and over, they are gonna get issued a warning. The only thing that you guys are gonna do is step 2, which is confirm the owner information and that there was a violation, so that you can go out and send that warning out. Step 3, again, is just you updating in our system and saying, hey, we wanna send these all out. It'll go directly to our mailing house and basically be sent out automatically. We will give you our a back-end visual of what gets mailed out through our partnerships. But basically, at the end of the day, you're only really doing step 2, sorry. So in the steps, this is what the actual system looks like. So from a resources standpoint, you're not gonna need a ton of resources. Depending on how many cameras you have or how many infractions or speeders you obviously have, the entire idea around this is to change behavior. So in step 1, this is what we would handle, but step 2 is to just have owner information in it. As you can kind of see, we pull in the plates, you can see the 2 visuals, you can go into them directly, you can zoom in on them if you need to. But as you can see down here at the bottom, there's a green bar. This green bar dictates that the OCR that TrafficLogix uses, as well as our OCR, says we both read that plate correctly, it looks good, the state and province is on there. We are going to approve this as a infraction or warning. We want to go to the next step in order to issue the warning, but we're going to send this out so that we can go get the plate information in order for us to populate a true warning. So we will be handling this on the front end. You can obviously see, we'll even see how fast they were going, the speed limit, and how much they were over. We also can see how many times this vehicle's been seen. So there's filters like in Schaumburg, Illinois, who runs this program, virtually similar to what you're probably looking at. They don't issue warnings until like the second or third time they've been seen, because they don't want to be sending 1,000 warnings out to people. You can filter this out so that basically on the warnings, and I'll get to that in a second, it shows on the bottoms of the warnings that how many times they've actually went over the speed limit in a given point of time. So we have a lot of repeat offenders here in Illinois that get caught, 4 and 5 times. They get one notice and it says, hey, you've been seen this many times in this X amount of time. It's really nice for you guys from a data analytics point, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the data that is being pushed out into the ethos, meaning your respondents, is being pulled back into you guys so that you guys can use it to put your resources in the correct areas in order for you to enforce or write real tickets from squad cars. That would be more on the police department's behalf, not directly from the camera itself at this point in time. So once you get through to step 2 would literally be the same screen I just showed you. It would just pre-populate the owner information. Again, when you hit approve on the step 1 portion with our system, that's already sending that out directly to inlets to get the owner information. And then we verify it, we push it back to you guys so that you only see the ones that you ultimately want to write warnings on. So at the end of the day, these are what get pushed out. Now, Dublin, Ohio on the left-hand side, this green letterhead, they only do warnings too. On theirs, they got creative and they did QR codes at the top that take them to Slow Down Dublin, which is their program that they're running out there. They're trying to use a system that says, you know what, we understand we don't want to write citations as of right now, but we're letting you guys understand that we are watching and we're trying to get you guys to all slow down. Here's some tips and here's some information for you to understand why we're getting you to slow down, whether it's crash data or anything like they have on their website. They're trying to get that out into the public so they understand that this is not okay. But at the bottom, the language can be changed on the warnings as well, and that's where we can put in how many times you've been seen or how many times you've been caught by the cameras themselves. On the right-hand side, that is an actual notice of violation, has actual numbers. Again, we can put QR codes. If you get to this point with citations, it would take them directly to our citizen portal for them to either online contest or ask for a hearing or even just pay the infraction. They will be able to see their visuals. They'll be able to see the calibration certificate that goes directly to that camera, as well as the evidence package. So you get all that given to them out in the public. But if it's only warnings, we won't need to set up a citizen portal at this point in time. Then lastly, some of the data analytics that we produce on our end. Again, as we're capturing all this, we want to make sure that we're kind of putting analytical reports in place where there's like a target enforcement. This is pieces that you guys can use and say, hey, these are the best times to go out and probably sit out in these locations where these warning cameras are sitting and actually do law enforcement traffic stops. So it gives it in 15-minute increments, tells you the worst and, times to go. And it actually has been very useful in the case studies in Dublin as well as in Schaumburg. They've been able to catch quite a few people in those time slots because they have limited resources. In Illinois, I would assume in New York, a lot of people retired in the last like 5-6 years. So police resources have been kind of dwindling. They're trying to ramp them back up, but they want to make sure that they're not spending their time spinning their wheels, just sitting in a spot when they might not be able to get anything. They might not see any infractions in those time slots. So they want to give them a target enforcement piece. We have top 5 violators as well. That was also helpful in those cities that were looking at it. Kind of like they have something here in Illinois. It's like at the back. It's like the most wanted, but it's people that actually commit crimes. But this is more for you guys to see like, hey, these are people that we really want to have a conversation with and try and change their behavior. So if they were to get traffic stopped, there's going to be a much different conversation having at that point in time. And actually, it took them 17 days to find the #1 violator in Schaumburg. He had violated close to like 40 times in that time slot, in that time frame when the cameras went live. And they had a very heartfelt conversation. And ever since, they haven't seen him on the cameras. So they were actually kind of tracking to see if it was going to change the behavior, and it did. Then we have compliance by month. This is connected directly to the speed data trackers that Traffic Logics provides to you guys. So it's kind of overlaying how many warnings you're writing with also tickets if you get there, and then seeing the compliance rate go down. So if the behavior is changing and people are starting to slow down in those areas that you guys are putting these cameras in, then it's actually showing you good data that the committee can look at and say, hey, you know what, this is actually working in these areas. Maybe we need to go light up some other areas that we might have some problems with that are having crashes or people blowing red lights or anything like that. So we want to make sure that we're feeding that data up to you guys to make, pointed decisions on how the system is actually working. Then lastly, this is our dashboard. So this is something that people will be looking at every single day. It'll kind of track how many citations, warnings been written, what's awaiting to be approved, as well as citation revenue. Obviously, you're doing warnings. So some of this stuff will be not on that main until you light up citations fully. And then we give you some nice pie charts, bar charts, kind of track the data. It can be done as a per month, it can be done as a per year. You can, search it in a couple of manners, different ways to make the dashboard look a little more legible. It's more for administrative sides, but again, it's serving the data up to you guys to let you know what's going on with the program. Then to kind of come full circle again on this whole entire program, the whole idea of this is to change behavior, especially in your guys' case with warnings. There is a couple different languages that we use. We use some behavioral scientists out of Ohio that worked at a college over there to show how we write the warnings in a couple different ways. There's a couple different versions and verbiage that's used on them to get people to react a little better to those. So we did a lot of time and effort on that behavioral scientist piece because if we were only going to do warnings, there's got to be some type of language or something to get through to somebody to change their behavior, because ultimately when you get to citations, people are going to start tampering down. They're not going to want to get hit with an infraction like they do out in Connecticut or Colorado, or there's many other states that run these programs, Maryland as well. But we definitely want to try and change that behavior. Also, time, effort, and efficiency is huge on this piece because, again, if you're going to implement this system, you want it to be easy to use. So whoever's running it on a daily basis, you want to make sure that when the system goes in, it's not eating up a ton of time. Obviously police officers or whoever's going to be running this is not going to be their only job. So if this is something that they work on a couple days a week or maybe once a week to do this process, that's what we're looking at. Our internal teams that obviously launch some of these products, you can kind of think 1 minute per warning is what you can do in this system. And that doesn't take a lot of time to do it. We're doing this for a lot of the other systems. The other day, one of my internal customer success people that's running it for another community said he did I think it was roughly around 110 infractions in, I think it was like 40 minutes. So it is a very user-friendly system for you guys to operate, but we'll make sure that you guys get there from training and implementing. And then obviously through the collaborative, we want to move towards Vision Zero. Vision Zero is obviously a program that's being adopted all across the United States as well as Canada. It's been around since the 90s. It's basically trying to use traffic safety devices like this to tamper down, reduce crashes, fatalities, and things like that. So we really are part of that Vision Zero program and portfolio. It's not just obviously ASE cameras, but it's a lot of different things as well. I'd like to open it up to any questions that you guys might have for Stacy or myself.
So I'll just say, Brandon, thank you so much, and Stacy, thank you very much for this very comprehensive presentation. You know, as the task force, we've received a number of comments from the community about how we can more aggressively address some of the speed issues that we face. And we have a pretty significant corridor, County Road 39, that faces obviously congestion, but during the off-peak hours, there's lots of speeding that happens as well. So this was a very nice overview of what this technology is able to do. Do we have any questions from any of the members?
I actually have a question for Assemblyman Thiel. Fred?
Yeah, hi.
Is there actually a bill on the table for speed cameras in New York State?
I had a bill in just for County Road 39 at one point. So there's bills in. The only thing that on speed that's ever been approved by the legislature to date relates to school zones. So, there are laws on the books with regard to using speed cameras, but to date, they've largely been around school zones. Neither Nassau and Suffolk both had authority to be able to do that. Nassau started to do it. It didn't go very well. They abandoned it, and Suffolk never has. So, red light cameras, for stoplights, plenty of that. Those laws in New York State. Speed cameras only around school zones for the most part in New York. That's basically where New York is.
So
the one last thing I would say is that there does appear, I've been on the transportation committee. There does seem to be more interest in the technology in the last year or so in the legislature, but that's kind of the state of play as far as the law at the moment.
what about, would we need legislation to do speed cameras in construction zones?
If the issue is whether or not you're doing enforcement or warnings. If you're doing warnings, you don't need legislation. If you're doing citations, enforcement, you need an act of the legislature.
Thank you.
That's actually very helpful. And Assemblyman Thiel, thank you for being here. So we don't need state authorization then for just warning letters?
No, you do not. Actually, we're running a warning program in Utica. They've actually Utica, New York. We also are running a warning program in upstate New York in Spring Valley. They have 6 of our cameras currently for just warning purposes.
Got it. And just one last question. If we, and Assemblyman Thiel, you might be able to answer this, or possibly Commissioner Bartha. If we determine that County Road 39 would need speed cameras or County Road 80 needs speed cameras, are we able to implement them on those roads, or would we need the county to sort of request that separately? How would that work out? Would that have to be a sort of a joint request somehow, or it's on?
I think we can do that with your approval, our recommendation. I think we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things, question I would have, can they operate with power from solar, or you need a hard connection to power?
We can do either, depending on what the municipality would like. We can do an AC hardwired fixed pole unit into existing poles that are at least 6 to 8 feet from the roadway, or we can do a solar mobile unit, as you saw in our slides. We can also do a solar pole-mounted unit as well. Now, I will tell you that the pole-mounted units typically will stay in the location for at least a year. If you're looking to be able to, go through multiple roadways or intersections, then we would want to look at a trailer unit that's solar powered with battery backup.
Thank you.
I have a bunch of questions, but I'll contact you offline with them.
Absolutely, sir.
But but I do want to ask one question. Can you forward us if you have data, before and after data on any of the, from any of these towns that you're currently operating? We constantly take data. We know the times and speeds, and we have data out there every day. We have a trailer out there on some road in the town collecting data. So these towns probably have the same. So could we get the data before you implemented your program and after to see if there's any difference?
We absolutely could do a traffic speed study for you prior. We can, we have a demo unit that we can send out to collect the data.
Yeah, I want something that it's already there, not mine.
Oh, sure. Brandon would be able to. We have a couple municipalities that are doing warnings that we can go ahead and send data. That would be through Brandon's team to be able to provide to you.
Okay, thanks.
Stacy, in your opening comments, I think you made reference to vehicles going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. I read a study, I think it was Federal Highway study recently, where they had taken data from 600 and some locations and found that 16% of all motorists were going at least 10 miles an hour above the speed limit. Do you have any insight on that? Am I remembering that correctly? Do you have, is 10 miles an hour over the speed limit kind of a logical cutoff point, and how many people are going that fast?
I wouldn't have that sort of statistical data. What I can tell you is that talking to a majority of my municipalities, law enforcement, they typically do not start pulling people over until 12 to 15 miles over. I have some municipalities that are exactly 10 over because that's what the state has written the ordinances to say, that they can start writing tickets at 10 miles over. I have school zones that will write at 5 miles over. I've got school zones that'll write at a mile over. So again, it goes back to what your officers would actually pull a vehicle over at is what you would want to have your threshold set at. I can probably tell you that state law, if it follows either Connecticut or Colorado, it's going to be 10 miles over. Your state just came out of a work zone pilot program. And New York City is the only other location that allows for actual ticketing. And I believe within the next year, you guys will switch over to being able to do warnings. Other municipalities are seeing this coming. We're having multiple discussions in the state of New York, and people are just preparing to get drivers on board with the warnings to then switch over to actual ticketing when that goes live with legislation.
Stacy, thank you so much. I have one last question. Could you also use this in the town of Southampton, because we also have a traffic congestion problem, we also have cars going down side roads and affecting the quality of life of neighbors on side roads. Can this technology be used to also be flexible in enforcing, for instance, no turn restrictions or no trucks? Is that something that can be also used in this technology, or is it primarily speed?
It's primarily speed. Now we do offer radar feedback signs that have capabilities of displaying basically messaging. So it's a data messaging board along with the ability to show the speed. It flashes in red when they exceed the threshold, and it can say no trucks. It can say go left. It can say go right. It could say private roadway. It allows for the variable messaging. So those are usually used on our side roads in municipalities because those radar feedback signs can be moved very easily, and it also collects data that you would get from our data speed trackers. So you'll get the date, the time, the speeds, the location of the speeds, your traffic counts, your 85th percentile, 50th percent. It'll give you so much data, but it will not tell you who's creating the infraction. Unfortunately, it will just slow them down.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here. Are there any final questions? Because we do need to move on. No? All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and it was very informative. And if we have any other questions, we'll definitely reach out to you. If you don't mind, could you send us the slides so we could post that to our website if people have questions and they want to kind of re-examine what you presented on?
We are able to send a condensed version,
Great.
just due to some proprietary information. We'll send you a version that you can publicly post.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Um, yeah, no, go ahead, Donna. Oh, okay. I have a question for our town attorney. Then Donna, you could jump in. Do you mind, Jim? Just jumping on the. Sorry, I just have one quick question. It's not.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be. Oh no. I'm actually complete. So if you guys wanted to jump, you could.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, is there anything stopping us if we were to get the technology that has, the ability to read cars that are doing infractions? And we're not, obviously with issuing citations, we need state authorizing legislation for that. That's a whole separate subject. But if we're just issuing the warning letters, are we able to also issue warning letters if we have the technology to read like
Yeah,
illegal
it's an interesting
turns
question.
or?
When I saw the warning, I thought that what Assemblyman Thiel had said, when I first heard him talking about warning, I thought we probably don't need special legislation just for that.
Right.
But I'll take a look
Okay.
further into that.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
I'll try to keep this brief, but I would like to see, as I don't know if any of you know, but the red light camera is ceasing December
Yes.
1st in Suffolk County due to the legislation.
Mhm.
So based on the fact that the money and the money generator, and obviously safety is our number one concern,
Mhm.
maybe could we take a look at possibly, if we're not able to, because you can't ticket the car is not committing the violation, the driver is. So when you get that information, you're getting back the plate, but there could be 4 people in that household using that same car.
Mhm.
So, and the car can't say, I didn't do it.
Mhm.
So I guess what I'm trying to get to is could we look at the cost of getting all of this advanced technology when in the end we really won't be able to recoup the safety because somebody's not physically pulling them over, and we're not going to recoup any of the fines, license, the normal steps when you commit such, outrageous speeds that are dangerous.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to bring it to the both chiefs. Thank you both for being here. Because if I'm correct, the car cannot commit a moving violation. The driver
Well,
is the one
that's
who
what
commits
the
it.
legislation is for. You're not giving the registrant a moving violation. You're just giving them a violation on their registration.
On their registration.
Because
So-
their registered car was
Right.
used in a violation.
So just because I've seen such a turn of events over the years, I think that maybe, and this is just ideas, I think
Yeah.
that's why we're here.
Yep.
Highway patrol officers, depending on the cost of the cameras, I still think the enforcement ones are great, just as the most basic
Yeah.
cameras saying,
Sure.
slow down, please.
Yep.
But then maybe if we can find the funding, maybe through grants, have a patrol specifically for those speeding vehicles, which would
Mhm.
cut down on your MVAs. It would also generate income for the town
Yep.
to hopefully pay, and I'm sure the town and village would welcome more officers.
Well, I do want to say we did fill 7 new positions in the police department.
Filled 7 vacant
Yep.
positions.
Yep.
They're not new, but I'm glad
But
they're
that's
filled.
good. That's
Yes,
that's
we
cops
are-
on the road.
That's more
So
police on the road.
yeah.
So that's my thoughts were, I can't imagine these cameras being inexpensive because
Sure.
of their capabilities.
Oh yeah.
But as you know, legislation is going to take quite
Yeah.
some time, and right now the safety is urgent. Maybe we could take a look at numbers and balance that out.
Assemblyman Thiel, are you still on the call?
No?
I think he got off.
But so that was just my
Okay.
opinion. I wanted to
Yeah.
look at the cost of possibly increasing our force for
Yep.
speeding, and we know the
Yep.
hot areas,
Mm-hmm.
and versus the cost of this elaborate, where those trailers and those speed signs. I know the one on Lumber Lane is, people. It just alerts you to
That's a
hey,
good point.
because again, the car is making a moving violation, and it's usually the driver. You want
Right.
to hit them in their wallet and their privileges.
Yeah. That's a
So
good point, Donna. Thank you for
that's
that.
the thing that those cameras cannot decipher is who's driving the car.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is to school bus cameras. Right now, everybody has a right to they think they have to pay that.
Mhm.
Right now, since 2019, they don't have a judge to hear those
Correct.
cases, at least to the last of my knowledge. So all those
Correct.
tickets had to be disbanded. So
Yeah.
just something to think about before buying things.
Sure.
Let's make sure we're using good use of that money and get
Absolutely.
the roads safer.
100%. Thank you for that, Donna.
Absolutely.
So next up is we have a presentation from our co-chair, Tom Neely, on the Hampton Bays King Cullen CR80 light. If you could just try to keep it to 10 minutes if you can. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman. We're going to take a look at a couple of slides. What I'm suggesting is that next slide, please. What I'm suggesting, that's the one. What I'm suggesting is a little bit of a tweak to the existing blinking signal program at Canoe Place Road and Montauk Highway, County Road 80, which on this map you will see is marked with a red letter B kind of towards the upper right corner. That is the Canoe Place Road and Montauk Highway intersection with the blinking signal and the cone program in place. To the left, following Montauk Highway back to the west, or the left side of the sheet, is an intersection location marked with an A. That's the driveway of the King Cullen Shopping Center between the Senior Center and the King Cullen. There is a traffic signal at that intersection. That is not on blinking. My suggestion would be that we consider putting that signal on blinking as well as the keeping the signal up at Canoe Place Road blinking. I think by making the travel time, by putting that on blinking, we could make the travel time on Montauk Highway a little bit quicker. And I'd like to go, well, let me describe a little bit of what we're doing there. Signal A, which is the one I discussed, we put that on blinking green, east and west, and have no turns or exits from either the driveway on the shopping center side or the driveway on the St. Rosalie side. Now those are two driveways, those are not roads. So we would not allow vehicles to enter this intersection. If you're at St. Rosalie's, you can get out on Squiretown. If you're in the shopping center, you can get out onto Ponquag. And again, we're talking between 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m., so I don't know how much activity there is in either of those parking lots. But we leave that, we would put that on blinking. And I think that this would eliminate people cutting through the parking lot to, which they do from Ponquag to get up onto Montauk Highway. Would help eliminate that problem because that will also trip the signal and make it go red and green, so we put that on blinking. If you'll go to the next slide.
Is that it?
Oh. There we go. For about 2 years, I've been tracking travel times on Google Maps every 2 or 3 mornings a week. For the last 6 months, I've actually been mapping these travel times so that we get a better understanding of the dynamics of not only the time travels between destinations, but the routes they're taking. As you can see from this, I hope, people are quite often using Fanning to avoid Montauk Highway. The travel time there is, if they go down Fanning, it takes 28 minutes, according to this. It takes 28 minutes to get from the Macy's in Hampton Bays to Town Hall by going down Fanning and coming up at Canoe Place Road. If they stay on Montauk Highway, it takes from Macy's to Town Hall, according to Google Maps, it takes 35 minutes. And if they were up on Sunrise Highway and County Road 39, it would have taken 33 minutes. That was on, let's see, that was 7 a.m. on Thursday, September 5th. It was sunny out and it was 57 degrees at that time. So people are using Fanning, people are using some of the other roads, both south and north, but they're not primarily staying on Montauk Highway. And if you go to the next slide. Now, this is another similar shot taken at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, May 28th. It was foggy and 52 degrees out. Vehicles that took a route from Old Riverhead Road, north up Squiretown, and then to Newtown and down, would come down to Newtown, they would go west, and they would make a U-turn on Montauk Highway and circle back around to that Canoe Place Road intersection. It would take them 34 minutes. If they stayed on Montauk Highway in Hampton Bays, County Road 80, the trip took 43 minutes between Macy's and Town Hall. If they took Sunrise and 39, it was taking 40 minutes. So my point here is that what we're not seeing, and I have this data for a whole lot of dates, I just wanted to put two up, and I do this at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., and at 9 a.m. When I'm not working. As I said, for several months I've been compiling this data 2 days a week, and what I've seen is that a lot of vehicles are going north, they're going south. We see some come up from Boone Road. I know Charlie's mentioned that in earlier meetings. But what they're not doing is staying on Montauk Highway quite often. So I'm hoping we could shave a minute or two off of that by putting that signal on blinking. My other idea would be at Canoe Place Road. Right now we are Highway Department is laying out a length of cones, about 200 feet of cones, to feather and merge the traffic coming north from Canoe Place Road onto Montauk Highway, making that merge much easier. That intersection was widened a little bit a couple of years ago by the county in order to make that right turn easier for people to make. So another idea would be to perhaps take away those cones at the Canoe Place Road intersection east that's feathering that merge traffic in, and make people or have people take the right turn just as they would at any intersection without the aid of those cones for the merge. That combined with the blinking signal, I think is maybe going to make it a couple of minutes faster on Montauk Highway, and hopefully would get some of those folks off of the local roads north and south and get them to get back on Montauk Highway. That's my suggestion.
All right, thank you, Tom. Do we have any questions from the board? No? Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. We will look into that some more. Next, we have up our other co-chair, Charlie McCardle, also Highway Superintendent, to share a presentation on the County Road 39 North Sea Road cone pilot model. Sure.
Very interesting. You got something to share with me? Great.
So unfortunately, I don't have a slide program for you. Since everybody knows the neighborhoods, I'll just go through my plan for the afternoon. Lots of people talk about the traffic in the morning. Very few talk about the afternoon unless you live in Southampton Village. And it's the biggest problem, the biggest conversation, probably the only conversation. So I proposed to the committee, the chief of police, and it has to go to the town board for an afternoon cone program like we tried in the mornings 2 years ago. And I just need you to bear with me, and I'll explain as I go through it. But County Road 39, just east of North Sea Road, it's a single lane from the Southampton Diner, and then when you get to that light, it dumps into two lanes. 30 cars fit in that when the light's red and it fills up. I'm proposing that we make that just one lane, and that there'll be the regular turning lane and then a single lane. Then when you get past McDonald's, past Burger King, we're gonna force everybody to merge into one lane. So you're gonna have one lane from Burger King, and I'll get to the village part of this in a minute. One lane from Burger King all the way to Sandy Hollow. The light at Sandy Hollow and 39 will stay green, so you don't stop there. Sandy Hollow also is similar to that. When you come down North Sea Road and you get to Sandy Hollow, it's one lane, and then when you get to the traffic light, it bumps into two lanes. So very often you're at that light, you have two lanes that fill up the whole thing, and the other way you're going is 39 has two lanes filling up the whole thing. Years ago when I first started here, that wasn't a red light, that was a green light for both sides. So now all of North Sea will dump out, it won't have to stop. 39, yes, it'll be one lane, but it doesn't stop. And it continues. The issue we had when we did the pilot program in the morning was Tuckahoe School. It's a big hurdle to get over. So my plan would be that we wouldn't touch McGee Street till the last bus came through, and then we'd stop traffic on McGee Street from entering, going west. Now, if you're coming from the school, you'd be able to go west, but if you're coming from the village on McGee Street, you wouldn't be able to turn to go west. The college light would remain the same, except to be manned with a police officer, so if there was nobody coming out from the college or nobody coming from the golf course, they could wave the cars through even though it's a red light. In my opinion, that would move the traffic to 27 like an express lane. Even though it's only one lane moving is better than 2 lanes not moving, in my opinion. I proposed a 2-week program. It has a couple little glitches to it, or add-ons. When you get to shrubland, I don't know, I know the county's here, and I'm not blaming anybody, but shrubland T's 39, so you can't get out. Could be a merge. I don't know if there's enough land there where the bus stop is. But we were going to put some trucks that would force people, even though it's 2 lanes going west at this point, force people to merge again into that single lane so shrubland could flood out. Now, if shrubland floods out, everybody's GPS and Waze will keep people going that way if they're in those back roads. They're not going to come down past the golf course and so on, which causes a big problem. In the village, you still have the blinking light at St. Andrews, but I am going to say that the people that work that blinking light have to be aggressive. They have to be out on the road. They have to be waving people through. There's also that dark curve on Hill Street as you're coming out of the village. It's a common problem. Even if there's no traffic, people slow down. I get it. It gets dark there right before the reservation. Somebody should be at that spot, again, aggressively waving people through. I hate to compare New York City, but you see the traffic officers right there. They're aggressive. I'm not saying you got to dance like that movie at 48 Hours in the middle of the street, but you have to be out there aggressively moving cars. That dark spot on Hill Street, again, it's a spot where even if there's no traffic, people slow down. So you need to be aggressive waving them out. And then as you get further west on Montauk Highway, we did it for a little bit. On Canoe Place, there was no stopping if you're going west. You actually merged over into the shoulder. The light actually was operable, but a police officer would wave the cars going west through that. Right now it backs up to Edgewater. Once you clear the village, you go past the college, things are good, and then you get to another dark area where it's a bad curve. It backs up from Edgewater all the way to Main Street. That proved itself when we did it last year. The cars don't have to stop going west. There's no reason to stop. There's enough room on the shoulder to keep them going. So this is my plan. It's in a very expensive plan. The chief of police comment was, what if it works? I don't know. That'll be up to the town board to fund in the future. But I'm open to comments. I know it's radical, 1 lane on 39. Like, why would I think that? But 1 lane that doesn't stop, I think, would work better than the 2 lanes. And if you flush out North Sea, because everybody comes down North Sea Road, they look down Shrubland, and if they see brake lights, they're going the back way. They're going down, so they're going to go through Sabonic, all of those things. We try to avoid that. Now, the problem for the village, by McDonald's, it's 2 lanes that turns left on 39. Okay, that can back up quite a bit. But again, if the 1 single lane is never stopping, I think that the 30, 40 cars that make the light have enough time to merge. If you're familiar with Hampton Bays, you come off Flanders Road, 24, at the diner, you make a left, you quickly have to merge into 1 lane. It does work. So McGee Street's the other issue. McGee Street's a big spot for people in the village to come out on 39. I talked to the chief about it. We're going to try my version in the beginning. If it gets killed, we have room to move where we make a left turn, cone off a left turn where they could merge later on down the road, so it wouldn't affect what we're doing. But the original plan would be that you can only make a right coming out of McGee Street if you're going north. I know the village would have an issue with it, but again, we have to try something and we have to see if it works. if it does work, and again, we've proven with Tom Neely's all his information couple at the last meeting, he counted how many people went east on 39. He had a number, and then he looked at how many went west, and there were like 20,000 people short because they were all going through the village on the way home. So my theory is, if we get the traffic to move, people won't have to cut through the village, and it's got to be at least 2 weeks because there's a learning curve. The first week we'll get yelled at, cursed at, whatever. The second week they may say, "Oh, this works," or it may not work. I don't know. And we're not going to do this long, expensive traffic study. We're going to just put out a survey. You can go on the website, get the survey, and say, you know what, I appreciate you trying, but it made it worse, or it did work, or it didn't. Anybody have any questions?
Well, let's. Yeah. No. Thank you, Charlie, for this, and I know that you presented to me, and it sounds like it's going to be something that's really helpful. The next stage for this would have to be it would have to go before the town board. We'll have to look at what the cost will be. Now, I would assume, I don't know if this is a question for the chief or Charlie, there would have to be partnership with the village police on this.
So there are. Well, we're hoping as members of the committee, there are 2 intersections that we would hope we'd get some assistance at, just like we helped on St. Andrews. The good news is, I don't know, let me just mention this. For this to be a true study, we can't do it after the pools are closed and the tennis courts are closed and the landscapers are closed. It wouldn't be, we wouldn't get the right numbers. Right. So we're really at a point now where I don't think we could rally with the public hearing and so on to get it done for this time, but it could be ready for the spring. The spring. So the schools have to be open. You got to be cutting grass. You got to be having your pool done. You have to have your tennis court done, and all the builders, everybody's in motion. That's the only way we're going to see if it works. Now, right now, from 2 years ago, I put in for permits for the morning and in the PM, but they will expire if we have to wait till the spring. So we'll just have to resubmit the permits. Neve helped me, and we got everything done.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie. We got to get through the agenda, and then we'll get to comments after that. Was this specifically on what Charlie proposed? I'll give you a minute if that's okay. You have to go over there. Yeah, thank you.
Unfortunately, Mayor Magner couldn't be here today, so I'm the deputy mayor representing him. I would very much appreciate a briefing with our chief and our administration before you have the public hearing, so that we could see what the specifics are. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So we are going to move on to, as everybody knows, public transportation is a key part of this as well. We have to try and get cars off the road and try to enhance some of our public transportation infrastructure. So we have my colleague, Council Member Tommy John Scavone here to give us an update on the South Fork commuter connection.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you to the members of the committee here for being with us. Traffic is certainly a challenge in the town of Southampton, and so we're going to just take a quick look at the South Fork commuter connection. We do have a rail line out here. I think it's safe to say, and a surprise to no one, that it is an underutilized transportation link. It's something that we've put some time and effort into. So let me get this. There we go. Okay, so we call it the South Fork Commuter Connection. It is really part of the Long Island Railroad, administered by the Metropolitan Transit Authority. It consists of 45 miles of 8 different train stations, and commonly known as the Montauk branch of the Long Island Railroad. This is the scene in Hampton Bays last week on Thursday morning as the train was coming in. You can't really see, but there was quite a few people on the platform that morning. We do ride the commuter connection regularly to see how it's going. So essentially what the commuter connection is in 2019, our Assemblyman managed to get the MTA to add 2 new trains in the morning and the afternoon, and those are the trains that are shaded. Up there. These also shaded areas are combined with a shuttle program. The towns of Southampton and East Hampton provide a shuttle program that I'm going to talk about briefly in a moment. So there it is, the commuter connection. It goes from Spionk to Montauk, and it is being used. So if you look at the times there, they're very immovable times. You know, people look at that schedule and they say, well, you know, can you tweak it 3 or 4 minutes one way or the other? And, you know, we can ask the MTA, and generally what we have found is the answer is no, that's the time. And so we really have to operate around the times that the MTA provides. And I thought this was fun. Right, that's the Long Island Railroad system, and of course the South Fork, it's from Spionk to Montauk. In addition to our train schedules, we also have a shuttle system, and this is an example of our scheduling of our shuttles. We have loops that we operate, and I say we, you know, the towns of East Hampton and Southampton were the only towns that actually operate a shuttle system like this. And what we do is we put out an RFP to a bus company, and the bus company who has won the RFP is the Hampton Hopper. And I just have to give a shout out to Derek and his people at the Hampton Hopper, because they've been very, very accommodating. You know, their drivers get to know the commuters, and they've been working with us. They take numbers, they do statistics. Each bus that travels, each loop, and you're going to see them in a moment, that travels, they're counting the number of passengers that are coming on and off the Hampton Hopper. So, you know, they're truly going above and beyond. If there's a cancellation of the trains, very often they will just take it upon, you know, calling us, but they will take the commuters to the next stop or where they need to go. So we really appreciate working with them, and we have a true partner here. So our first loop is in the area of Southampton. It goes to Benton's Plaza, the Phillips Family Cancer Center, Southampton High School, Leland Lane, Southampton Hospital, Southampton Town Hall, Leighton Lane. And that is a morning loop twice, and then an afternoon loop twice. Now we designed this to try to get as many commuters as we possibly can. We also have the commuter connection that stops in Bridgehampton, and that loop goes up to Sag Harbor. So it's geographically a larger loop. It's also a very time-constrained loop. So this is traffic mitigation. Well, our buses are in traffic. And so sometimes it's kind of a nail-biter with the trains, because the trains leave when the trains leave. In Bridgehampton, they go to the post office, Corworth Avenue, South Fork Natural History Museum, and Sag Harbor Industries, and Sag Harbor Pearson High School. So, and that's the loop between Bridgehampton and Sag Harbor. East Hampton, this is our busiest stop. You go in the morning, the platform at East Hampton, it looks like something in New York City. Several hundred people are coming out of the commuter connection onto, you know, out onto the shuttle bus, as well as to a lot of the businesses in the area. Now, if you know where the East Hampton train station is, there's Riverhead Building Supply, and then a whole bunch of other buildings, or businesses rather, the YMCA. And people not only take the commuter connection there utilize the shuttle there, but they also walk to their businesses. So what East Hampton did there was they have 2 loops. They added one, which I think is fantastic, because, you know, we're in the town of Southampton, but anybody who goes to East Hampton, they're driving through our town on a daily basis, the whole thing. You know, so it makes sense to certainly work with them. They go to the spring school, to Sports Time, Pantego Place, East Hampton Town Hall, Panago Road, Newtown Lane, Good Friend Drive, East Hampton High School, King Street, and John Marshall Elementary School. Their 2 loops are broken down into 4 in their western loop, and then 6 in their eastern loop. And then the last one is Amagansett to Montauk. This service goes out to Montauk. And it goes to Amagansett School, the Ocean Vista Resort, Montauk School, Montauk Chamber of Commerce, that's on the circle, Gosman's Dock and Westlake Drive and Star Island. So we have 4 loops, the commuter connection, and like I said earlier, the trains are the times when the trains are. And I don't think, you probably have figured out already that we are designing this service and the loops for the schools, not necessarily like favoring one over the other. It's just simply the place where we can get the most commuters on a schedule that we can predict. And it's working pretty well. So here's the progression of this. These are ticket sales from the South Fork commuter connection from the MTA. Now I want to explain this a little bit. There's a special machine to get the South Fork commuter connection ticket. It's $3.25, one of the best deals out here. There's also the regular MTA train. So there's some folks who are on these trains that are purchasing other tickets. But these are the numbers that we have. It was established in 2019. Again, I want to give a special thanks to our Assemblyman for getting this done. Because not only did he get this done, he also got the funding for the bus loops. We operate them, but they are funded by the state of New York to the tune of about $700,000 a year. So here are the numbers. The first year that it came out, 46,700. It started in March of 2019, and then we know what happened in 2020, right? We had COVID-19. We had the shutdown. They actually, schools closed, the world closed down, and so they also stopped running the South Fork commuter connection. The next year, we were still in COVID. People didn't want to go in closed areas, 26,300 tickets. And then, we moved out of it, as you can see, 2022, 72,900. And then last year, 97,000 tickets were sold for the South Fork commuter connection. And that's both ways, by the way. We are on track to exceed that number this year. So, I didn't want to give a partial bar on this. But we're seeing that the ticket sales are climbing. Now, I said earlier that this is an underutilized transportation link. I believe that, and considering the traffic that we have and the reason why we're all here. If we had regular service, a more regular service, we would have more riders because, we talk to these folks. And I think it's probably intuitive and fair to say that if there were more trains, more people would be taking the trains, right? That's just simple math. But there's also a sense of trust in the system. If you are an administrator in Spring Schools or East Hampton Schools and you've got something that you have to stay for late that afternoon, well, you're not going to take the train in the morning because you've got work and you're going to miss the afternoon trains. And if you miss the afternoon trains, then you're going to be stuck out here. So if there were more trains, we believe that even the trains that we have would have more riders. Incidentally, on our heaviest days, we take over 400 commuters over the Shinnecock Canal every morning. That's pretty good. Now, compared to the numbers of traffic, it's a fraction, but still, it is working. Now, in order for us to really to get more service on the South Fork commuter connection, there needs to be upgrades. We would essentially be turning the service around. The entire Long Island Railroad, as you know, again, it serves to service the city, and it's kind of pointed west, right? People live on Long Island, they work in the city. That's the concept of most of the Long Island Railroad. Well, out here, we need to turn it around, face it east, because we know that there are thousands of workers every day that come out on the South Fork to work. We're one of the major economic engines of Long Island. I mean, there's a lot of money being made out here, God bless them, but it's an important part of the economy of Long Island. So if we wanted to, or if we were to improve this, according to the MTA, these are the steps that we would need to do. Our westernmost station, Spionk. Spionk is a terminal. It's where trains pull off. They work on them. They change shifts. And they would need more train tracks to pull off. A new track, a new crew, and then, of course, new cars. The other portion of the Spionk train station, in order to turn this thing around, they're saying that Spionk would need a new north side platform and track. Hampton Bays, another platform. And there's actually another track in Hampton Bays, but to put another platform on the other side so that, essentially so that the trains could pass one another. We have one track. Hard to increase service with one track, so we need these sidings so the trains can pass one another to get more trains. That's west of the canal. East of the canal, they're also saying a similar thing at Bridgehampton. There is a siding in Bridgehampton. They would upgrade the siding, add signaling, that's a big deal, and also put another platform there so that the trains could pass and passengers could board east and west. East Hampton. There's a siding that exists there. There would be a siding there, and then Amagansett, toward the end, it would to increase the signaling for the sidings there. Now, this is from the MTA, and currently they are developing their 5-year capital plan. I personally, and a lot of us are hoping that this is in their capital plan. However, the next thing that I'm going to click here is really a prohibiting factor. What I just described would cost, they're estimating $260 million, which is 100-year infrastructure. This is transportation, but according to the MTA, that is the number that it would take to do the upgrades that I just described to increase train service to the East End. I believe it's worthwhile. Unfortunately, or fortunately, or well, wherever you stand on this, a couple of weeks ago, the governor of the state of New York kind of canceled congestion pricing. Now, whether you like that or not, it did mean that there is going to be less money in the MTA budget to the tune of about $1 billion a year. So that is going to make this project, which was very much on their radar, somewhat less likely. They are making that, when I say they, the MTA board is making the decision on whether to do this or not this month. We've reached out to them. We've asked them to consider it. A lot of us have spoken to the chief executive and her people asking them to do this. So that is kind of where we are with the South Fork commuter connection. Some of the drawbacks, some of the limitations, and this is what it would take to have a regular train service. And I do believe that if we were to do this, there would be several thousand people taking the trains east and west. So with that, I'm sure that brings up a whole heck of a lot more questions than answers, but that's kind of the rundown of the commuter connection.
Thank you, Councilman Scavone. Why is it now there's a shortfall because congestion pricing is canceled when in previous years it seems that wasn't necessarily a factor of withholding funds to?
Right, budgeting for the MTA, the ticket prices don't necessarily cover the operation of the entire system, which is significant. Now, I'm not an expert on this, and I don't know what it's like, to run the Mineola station into New York City and all that. But I know that it's always been a challenge, and some of the capital projects that they wanted to do were predicated on what they thought were going to be an increase in funding. Mm-hmm. But I'm confident that they're still going to do this, and I think it would be good for the South Fork.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth pointing out that the county executive, Ed Romaine, did issue a letter to the LIRR requesting that they do increase funding for the South Fork Commuter Connection. I know that's a lot to do with the coalition. Tom, you're a part of that as well.
The East End supervisors and mayors also recently sent.
Thank you for saying that, as did Ann Welker, as did we on the Southampton Town Board last week. The East Hampton Town Board and every school district on the South Fork has asked for these upgrades as well.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Again, thank you, everyone. And special thanks to Assemblymember Thiel. Really, this was his brainchild. He saw the need. He got it done through the MTA and then got the funding for the shuttle routes that we use.
Could I just ask, the ticket price, is that $3.25 per day or one way?
One way.
One way, okay.
Right. So $7.50.
650.
It's $6.50. Doing some quick math there.
Best deal in town.
Yeah, right. It's still yeah, and it is 11 minutes from Hampton Bays to Southampton by train. So, and that also includes the shuttle.
Oh,
So the
okay.
shuttle, the train and the shuttle, it's all part of the same 325.
Thank you,
All
thank
right.
you, Councilman.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for your work on this. So, Tom, I know we have this fifth agenda item, plans never implemented, but do you think we could segue to Janice, take her out of order, because we are coming up to 5:15. I want to make sure we have enough room for public comment. If we have enough time to get to it, maybe there's ways we could address this part into what Janice brings to to the table. If not, we could always bring this to our agenda next meeting.
We can call it agenda items not implemented.
Yeah, because in fact, Councilmember Tommy John Scavone presented on this. He was supposed to be here last month. He couldn't. So this was there was a holdover. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear from Director of Planning, Janice Shearer. Sure. Yeah, you could use that. And the reason why we have Janice here, our Director of Planning, is primarily because we've heard from members of the public that, look, we could do a study of, the county's doing their study of County Road 39, but at the end of the day, what we're seeing in terms of what are causing the traffic issues has a lot to do with the zoning of County Road 39. In fact, some members of the Southampton Association have come to our town board meetings and have said, you need to look at the zoning. And so we have been, and one starting point I believed was, and also our task force members believed, was looking at the 2015 Southampton Town Corridor Plan that was published, which I think can offer a very good starting point for us. So we will segue over to Director Shearer.
Thank you so much, Councilman, and thanks everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, we have a County Road 39 corridor land use plan that was adopted in January. How about now?
There you
go. So I'm a righty, so is that better?
Yeah.
Good? Okay, thank you. So in January of 2015, a corridor land use plan was adopted by the town board, and the way that the report was structured, so this is the cover of it, it's on our website, you can see it. I was wanting those.
Kevin, is the presentation streaming as well? Because we don't see it on the screen that the people at home should be seeing. Okay, looks like now they see it.
Great. So the way that the report works is that as you know already, County Road 39 is 5 linear miles approximately, and so the way it was looked at was in 4 different quadrants. And then each quadrant having its own sort of character laid out, and then zoning recommendations for each area, and then specific treatments. So in the report, each of the quadrants begins with a narrative of sort of the community character, the land uses, and then followed by zoning and an analysis. So that's just like how it's broken up in the report. So I'm just gonna jump around. So sorry. Excuse me. Trying to. So the idea here was. So here we have the study map. As I said, four quadrants, and the vision was that County Road 39 specifically this study was envisioned as a place where people can travel safely across town in a well-maintained and amply landscaped environment. And there were 4 goals. The first goal was to maintain and enhance community character. The second goal was to facilitate movement and enhance safety. The third goal was to manage new development along the corridor, which is obviously the purpose I'm talking to you today about. And the fourth was to protect and enhance the area's environmental quality. So with those goals in mind, there was different recommendations for each one of the corridors. And many of the things that were recommended were implemented, and I can talk to you about what those were. I just want to get to quadrant 1, and I guess I have to rotate it.
Ooh, is that button on the right or no? I don't know.
Toolbar all the way to the right.
There you go.
Phew. So, quadrant one really begins, and it's going from west to east. So from 1 to 4. So you're really talking about the where the Sunrise Highway ends, and now you're over near Inlet Road, and you're onto County Road 39. The speed limit changes. You're in a different area. So that's where we're talking about here. And one of the first, go back this way. The one of the first recommendations here, which is on page 25, was related to, at the time this report was going on, there was a large ZBA application for condos happening on Inlet Road. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it turns out the town bought it. So that was one of the recommendations, was to sort of not allow that kind of, like more residential along the highway. You may remember that most of the highway has HB or like commercial uses, and then the next parcel behind it is residential. So there's a lot of like residential and then that commercial along the highway, as you know. So the other thing was a gateway treatment, and that was also done with the help of Assemblyman Thiel. He helped create that turn back around because there was a lot of issues at that time where people had no way to turn back around and go west. So that was implemented. There wasn't many zoning changes recommended at this time here in this area, this Inlet Road, like end of the highway area. It was basically, really all about consolidating driveways and the flag lots behind them because of the access problems that people were suffering. And that's still something that we really should focus better on, because we wanted to create more like common driveways and the ability for residents to aggregate property, and I think that's still something that has to happen. So consolidation of curb cuts and driveways was one of the biggest recommendations in this area, and it still remains today.
When Janice, if you don't
Yes,
mind,
sure.
when you say consolidation of curb cuts, what exactly do you mean by that?
In other words, like here, this would be like a common driveway literally at the front, and so everybody doesn't have their own little curb cut in and out. You come in and you're on this like interior driveway road.
And that's like
And
create
that's
cross
your
access almost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that way everybody's coming in and out of a common point instead
Right.
of, now you've just eliminated, how many are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all these 10 now go through one common area.
And just to reorient, if I remember this correctly, Janice, this is kind of the south side of 39. As you come in off of Sunrise Highway, on your right side, there are a number of homes up
After
there.
Hill Station.
That's the
Residential.
area that I think Janice is referencing when we're talking about consolidating the driveways.
Yes. So I wonder if I can like zoom in a little better here. So
Then
can
you have
see.
Tortorella Pools there and Saz Restaurant.
Exactly, like all those, and they were talking about in this study how bus stops, you had to make multiple stops, and this was just creating a lot of conflict areas. So I don't really believe this has been solved. I mean, this is an outstanding thing that,
This is one of the major
One of the major
hotspots for our
problems.
MBAs.
yeah,
Because you have people coming out of Shrubland trying to head west, and then people coming, on the opposite side heading east, and it's just very difficult with all the curb cuts.
right. In this area over by sort of Dan's Papers, like Hill Station, there was like people traversing in this way to get to a bus stop, and that has since happened. We did, the county and at the time legislator Fleming worked to get a bus stop, a proper area, like and she's was working on sidewalks, etc. So that was there's really no recommendations zoning wise for this quadrant. It was just all about like design guidelines. They were talking about keeping the Lobster Inn sign that then became that big honkin' manna restaurant sign, which some of us were not happy about. But no offense to Donna, but it was not exactly what we wanted to see there. You want to see like a really nice treatment, because now you're entering the town of Southampton right at that point. So the win there was the inlet road. What we still need to work on, I would summarize as saying those common driveway areas are very important. Moving on to quadrant 2, I will again try to rotate. Here we go. So, sorry, excuse me. I just want to make sure I'm capturing everything here. So, on quadrant 2, you're talking about the golf courses. We've got, 3 major golf courses here. For those, everybody knows them, Shinnecock, National and Southampton. And then we have highway business mostly, and residential. These are all residential, and obviously, and the college is part of that, the college property. And so we also see, counterclockwise, you can see the, got those shopping centers, some, area, this is gone, Treasure Island.
Treasure
Proud to say the barn, the Roscoe barn, we managed to, that was proposed
That
as a
came out
TD
beautiful.
bank, and we said no, don't do that. And then eventually, 10 years later, it's finally something we want to see. So sometimes it takes time, and you do get what you want. But that was one of our biggest wins was that Roscoe barn. And you can see, we're all familiar with the old Jennifer convertibles and these little shopping areas, in this location. At the time of this report, the big controversy was Tuckahoe Center, where they wanted to build the King Cullen over, and now it's going to be Star Aquatic, which, the reason for not building Tuckahoe Center was the traffic. And many of us are very much in favor of the Star Aquatic Center, but we still have to really.
Will be off of McGee.
Yeah, it's right off McGee Street here. I'm so sorry. I'm saying at the time, Tuckahoe Center was proposed, which was a King Cullen shopping center, right on at McGee Street, and now the proposal is that's gone away. That was denied. That didn't, or withdrawn actually, and the town bought it. And now the new proposal though is to put the public swimming pool. So that is a traffic challenge, although I would say that's a great, community use. So
And that's going before the planning board, right?
That's going to be before the planning board. So it's just one of those things that the recommendations of this study talks about, like, hey, the Tuckahoe Center is less than what would have been required, but in the end, it didn't work because of the traffic issue of what it was. And Tom, you may remember this, was that you couldn't. It was up here at this site, if you could see my mouse moving around, and if it was King Cullen here, and people had to get to the left to go up Sandy Hollow, there wasn't enough travel time to get to the left side to go north. And
Right.
That was the biggest problem. Star Aquatic doesn't utilize this at all. It comes out here and comes to the light. So it's a whole different dynamic than a shopping center up at the highway. So
And I would expect, we haven't seen, on the planning board, so let me just mention that a little bit. We haven't seen a traffic study for the Star Aquatic, but my gut feel is that an aquatic center is not going to generate the traffic volume that a supermarket does. So
right.
that's another one
and it's
where-
staggered. It's not in the morning commute. It's not, at the same times, right? So in this quadrant, the recommendations were not really necessarily zoning per se. They were just issues about enhancing the character of the area and, the Roscoe barn, the treatment on the landscaping, bringing up the buildings. It was more of a visual and design recommendation than a traffic related recommendations for zoning. And Palmernock Pat, like trail easements and stuff. There's a little bit of recommendations here. I'll show you. Here they are. So one of the things was to buy the development rights, and we did that for the driving range. So that happened. They also recommended to buy the development rights for the Elks Lodge, which did not yet happen, I don't believe. There was a couple of recommendations from changing highway business zoning to a new zoning category, which was yet to be developed. And that zoning category was called HOB, HOB, which was highway office business. And that was like a highway business light, which allowed for even smaller highway business buildings. Right now you could do like 15,000 square feet per acre. And this would reduce those buildings to 5,000 square feet. But I think there was a lot of, maybe pushback from from the commercial and business community that said, I could barely fit in what I have now. So, that's the thing, it never went anywhere. So we're still open to thinking that through and doing that. But at the time, this is now going to be 10 years since then. Those things did not go into place because there was some significant concerns about those limitations. Although that may be what you need to do to really bring the traffic down. I'm just going to buzz over to quadrant 3. So it's a large amount of acreage, not really developed. A lot of this is, cemeteries, as you know. The Southampton Gospel Church was the recent. Liberty Gardens, which was denied over traffic concerns. And it says here that while much smaller geographically, Quadrant 3 has 30% more single-family residential parcels than Quadrant 2. So Quadrant 3 is almost 90% covered by R20. There's a small section of R15 zoning. So it's really not a lot of commercial zones here. It's kind of blurry. But it's mostly you could see the density here, the residential, you see the subdivisions. It says unique to Quadrant 3 is a set of 4 parcels zoned office district, and those are like Ocean Electric, and that's a office district. That's over here, right by, the intersection of North Sea Road. They were, again, talking about kind of combining these lots. I've got to do this again. See, there's that Gospel Church. Here you see Dunkin' Donuts. This is as you're approaching North Sea Road and the gas station. The ag uses that's on the north side, yeah. And again, this is talking about this. There was a subdivision road here. I think this is Seasons Lane, and they were saying, to reverse engineer this and turn try to get people to not use the County Road 39, but to turn toward Seasons, which is all. As we went through the Liberty Gardens issues, we know that the Seasons Lane community would not be happy about that. But they were trying to say turn the other way and create more flag lots away, the other direction, and these common driveways were the big recommendation. Here's the map again. So just to orient you, this is that Sandy Hollow Road. This is County Road 39. This is North Sea Road here, and this goes into the village. So this is saying office district to highway office business again. That Ocean Electric area, like those buildings there, the church. Yeah. R20 here is interesting because it's saying turn these residential parcels into the Hamlet office, which is a small allowable commercial uses like offices, and I don't know that that's a good idea there anymore,
So Janice,
one of the heavily congested.
Yeah, that spot is probably the worst of all.
They almost need like a block to blocks type of implementation there because you can't go west.
There was some recommendations about the auto museum to be more like something, and that never happened. As you know, that became a warehouse and storage. So some of these recommendations are outdated.
We're coming up to the 10-year
mark
anniversary here.
So now, we did implement several things.
Yep.
There's still more to be done, and then I'll just jump to Quadrant 4, which gets into Watermill. Let me see. Did I get to my map?
I think you passed it.
I'll use this one. Sorry. Okay. Again, here's North Sea Road, and now you're getting into going toward David White's Lane. Not a lot of recommendations as far as zoning goes. Very little, in fact. But they're just trying to, the biggest thing was the gateway treatment. It says the character of the quadrant is unique as it's, the fairly intense commercial development is broken up by large swaths of open space. And that's kind of by Hampton Coffee.
Mhm.
That's what they're talking about. And as you pass David White's Lane, it's becoming, different. Their recommendations follow the access management plan, which I'm sure you've talked about many times here, which is creating like sort of those gateway treatments, those 50-foot buffer areas, to maintain that.
We haven't really discussed the access management a whole lot
Oh.
during this process, but it is, as you well know, a very important part of what we do along County Road 39. I don't know if you want to talk to the concepts behind that, and maybe we can cite some of the places where we've been able to implement that.
Sure. So they were talking about, even back then, the Cops and Cones program, all of that went into the access management. The whole idea was the general threat was the this capacity of the roadway. And that's what you're talking about with the zoning. Like, there's only so much it can handle.
Mm.
And as you keep putting more, it can't, now you're losing your everything you worked for. You got that second lane. We all know what it was like with the merge. When I first started working here, I almost quit because I was like, how am I going to, and then I moved to Southampton Village when it was affordable. But anyway, you could not get through that merge. And so having that second lane was critical. And then the whole access management plan was how to maintain the integrity of that roadway and to, discourage high volume driveways, in and outs, the kinds of land uses that are like 7-Eleven, you're in and out, versus PC Richard. You don't go buy a washing machine every day. You want those higher order goods uses that you're not going to every minute, and that lowers your need to keep going in and out of those curb cuts. So that's really the biggest premise behind it. It talks about, those high volume driveways, how to deal with that volume, and the land uses and the setbacks and buffers.
Another aspect of, if I can jump
Sure,
in,
please.
of the access management is connecting adjoining properties.
Oh yes, I almost forgot. That's the biggest thing. Cross
so
access.
that you don't want, rather than pulling out of one driveway at one store and going 20 yards and pulling into the next driveway at the next store, when you execute cross-access agreements and then implement them, you're able to link two different parking lots so that you don't have to go out onto County Road 39 and right back off. You're going within one parking lot to another parking lot. And I know the town's been very active in trying to, and there were a number of recommendations in that.
Yes.
In that plan.
And we did have a lawsuit about, one time when we tried to do cross access and require it, and the court had said, like, you really need a plan that shows it. So that's where all these plans then became under development, where we show that, and every time the planning board wants you to connect, they want you to open it up, if someone else comes in and now they're able to connect, and you filed all those legal agreements, now we make you connect and open it up so that we have those cross-access connections, and those are the most important thing we could do. And just as an aside, when I was in current planning looking at site plans, we used to ask the county, do you want us to ask people to set back even more? And to my memory, it was always 13 feet. We were always saying, should we add another 13 feet before the setback to the building, so that they could add another lane? And the county really wasn't taking a position on that in all those years. So I don't know why we didn't do that, but I think that's the other thing in the zoning realm that we should consider is, like, if on highway business zoning down the highway you're at 50 feet till you get to a building, maybe you should only be at 40 feet, and that 10 feet becomes something toward the roadway. Something along those lines. Or you have to provide cross-access or some other alternative transportation measure.
So this was very helpful of an overview of the 2015 plan. I'm wondering for the next meeting, if we could evaluate the consolidation of the curb cuts.
Sure.
Can we evaluate the signage? because I think in the meantime we have to think, and I know the task force has thought about this, and we've thrown the word out there a little bit here and there, and people have come to us and asked us, we need to take action here. I would like to see, in terms of that evaluation, are we able to seek a limited, a methodical type of halt on development here? A limited moratorium, perhaps, that addresses some of the outstanding matters that were addressed in the 2015 plan but have not yet been achieved. I think it's limited. It's not a broad scope. If we could identify some of the main characteristics that we still need to sort of close the loop on, I think that can help guide the board as well as this. Really would guide the board, the town board, in determining how it moves forward. But I think it's also an important addition to thinking about traffic on 39 as well, because one of the major issues is that people are turning into different places, going down their residential roads, and so we need to figure out how to mitigate some of those traffic-related issues on 39. And that does, even though the County Road 39 is a county road, we have the power of land use. So I think that's something we have to be very thoughtful
So
about.
to be clear, you would like maybe a list of all the parcels that had recommendations for changing zoning on, and then I just want to be sure I'm prepared. To bring.
And we could also talk. We could also talk amongst ourselves and discuss what we'd like to see.
Okay.
But yeah, I think generally speaking, that's what I think.
That's what you're talking about. Okay, and also
signage too.
Signage, and also I have. And I'll have more of a spreadsheet on everything that's taken place from 2015 to now.
Perfect.
So you can see how it's changed.
That would be great.
What's been approved. So I have that as a map, and I'll bring you a spreadsheet.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you so
Anytime.
much
My
for that.
pleasure.
That was
Thank
very
you.
good. Okay, we have to move on to the public comment section. Please keep to 3 minutes. I will call your name up. And then after we're done with the cards, we'll go to Zoom. We might be here extra 15 minutes after. We'll do our best to close it up. And
I want to mention that I'm glad you brought up moratorium, because I wanted to bring up emergency responses.
do you want to just say a couple of words?
Well, yeah, just like you had mentioned, the amount of building that's going on. When we talk about our roadways and our new construction, lately there's been a major change in what we're used to. Is they're taking down, say, 2,000, 1,500 square foot homes, and they're building 10 to 12,000 square feet homes, which requires all the painters, the landscapers. So we have a volume problem with traffic. So we can sit and talk about, like the trains idea is great, but these contractors, they can't take the trains because they need their trailers, their utilities. So we need to slow down on the building that's going on. We're taking down perfectly good 2-3 bedroom homes and putting up something that's 5 times the size, and that is just going to constantly generate more. So it's a volume problem. And how it affects the emergency is the traffic is so tight, or my members can't respond because there's no room for them to yield to us. And then the same goes with their ambulance. Our turnaround times are much longer because once that patient is dropped at the hospital, we have to maintain traffic law. And that takes us a long time to get back to the barn, restock, and get ready for the next. Just out of, I did pull some raw numbers. Just from June till now, we have had over 100 MVAs on County Road 39 alone, which is the highest of all time for this season.
Motor vehicle accidents.
100 motor vehicle accidents, the majority of them being on County Road 39. And which, when that happens, the village feels it, North Sea feels it. Everybody's got to go somewhere. Like, we could fix a problem in one area, it's got to go somewhere else. There's just so much volume of traffic. So, I giggle about the speed cameras, but usually you're at a standstill. But it is a speeding problem as well, because people at 3 and 4 in the morning want to try to get there where they got to go. So I won't take up, because I'd love to, make sure the public gets their turn to speak. But
thank you, Donna.
I'll talk to you further more about some ideas I have at the next meeting.
Yeah, and I think you should have your own slot for the next agenda to really discuss all of this.
But it's definitely affecting the emergency responses, and like I said, when somebody is having a medical emergency, time is of the essence. So
Thank you for your comments.
absolutely,
We really appreciate the EMS perspective. It's needed here. So,
yes.
okay. Rachel Verno, you have 3 minutes.
Hi everyone, I'm speaking as a resident, not as the chair of the CAC. I just want to make that clear. I apologize, I wasn't here at the last meeting where you were speaking a little bit about traffic circles, traffic lights on Route 27. So I just had a question about that. If there's a counterpart on the state level from the DOT to Mr. Bartha, Mr. Hillman, and Mr. Prego, who gave their presentation last month. And so that when you have plans like getting rid of lights and roundabouts, who's your sort of go-to expert so we can get some advice? If those are ideas that you really feel serious about, how we can get some data and more information about that. I didn't know everything was going to be about County Road 39. I actually sat on that traffic study. I didn't realize it was 10 years. Wow. One of the main things, and Bill Hillman was on that committee, was talking about having a cross-access for all of the businesses, all of the homes on both sides of the highway, so you could get to a traffic light so that people could safely make right and left turns, but also you would eliminate just what you're talking about, curb cuts, which not only slow traffic down, but also cause your accidents. At the time, not every property has the ability to be connected. And one of the things I said at the town board, it would be great if you mandated the crosscuts, didn't just make it as each thing came up for planning, because in our lifetime we may never recognize that. I don't know if that's something that 10 years later maybe the town wants to think about mandating the cross access. The reason the homes and the residents, at least in quadrant 4, the recommendation was for them not to be residences was partly quality of life, but also partly because you can't demand a cross access between people's homes. It's probably not realistic. So maybe 10 years later, something to revisit, see if you can get rid of those curb cuts. I know that's something everybody wants to do. And my last question, with the proposal for the commuter traffic end of day, but going the one lane, does that affect businesses going in and out if you have a continual, no stops, no lights? For the hours of operation, does that in any way, those businesses, people going in and out? I just know you have 3 to 5, 3 to 6, whatever that is. Some of those businesses are still open. And will you have the ability to get out of or into those businesses? That's it. Questions?
Thank you. All right, next up is May Hellingby. You really have to go to the mic. I'm sorry.
Hello. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I've heard all these wonderful proposals today, and I don't want to be redundant, but I just want to zero in on Southampton, and particularly, the traffic problem that we have had starting from 3 to 5 years ago. And our little village, which is so beautiful and picturesque that we all love so much, is being totally destroyed by this. With all this massive traffic, we've become a highway. I live on Lee Avenue, and it's impossible for me to get out of my driveway for fear of damaging my car, because Lee Avenue is the narrowest and the shortest, going from Captain's Neck, going from Ox Pasture to Lee. It's the last one going west. So obviously Waze and Google and all the maps show the cars to go that way, and they don't turn on any of the other avenues unless they live there. They come to Lee. And so it's making our life absolutely impossible. We have children, we have small children, we have families, we have a nice neighborhood. And I've damaged my car twice already just making a turn because they stand more or less in the middle of the avenue. Now I know that our village mayor and our village committee and our police chief and our police are doing everything possible to make life better for us. But we need your help. They can't do it all. They really need help from you to keep those lights blinking yellow, and instead of applying the police where they're needed other places, instead of applying them for traffic, why don't we have traffic police in yellow jackets stopping people and or making them move like you suggested? Just keep the traffic moving and have the lights yellow, because the minute they put that light on St. Andrews, it started the traffic problem. So I think if you can just keep things moving, it would be better. The other thing is if you can find some way to prevent all these cars from coming from the east end through the village while they're being directed, you know, to come through the village. A friend of mine from East Hampton came for lunch, and she said she was directed through the village, to come around the lake to have lunch. I mean, instead of going the main way, they choose the little streets and put them on there. So it makes it very difficult. It's destroying our streets. It's making it unsafe. The children can't go out. I mean, really, it's very unsafe. It's not. My other radical suggestion is that Lee Avenue is the shortest and the narrowest. Maybe we can make it a private street. I mean, it doesn't go anywhere beyond.
May, it's 3 minutes. If you could
Okay.
just wrap up.
That's it. That's it. And I thank you for all your efforts, and thank you for all the help you can give us.
Thank you, May. And your suggestions, by the way, are very good. And I just want to let you know that for a determination to be made about Lee being a private road would have to be made by your community and the village. We wouldn't be able to do that at the town level. But we are, of course, more than happy to partner with the mayor and with the village police chief to make sure we can work on anything that the village would like. We're more than happy to be of assistance.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Anaya?
Good evening. Thank you to the members of the Safety Task Force Committee. Thank you to the attendees for your attention and for those that are watching on Zoom. It's our understanding that you can help, so hopefully I'm in the right place. My name is Renee Stakey. I'm a member of the Wildwood Neighborhood Watch, and I also have some other members with me tonight. We're here to voice our concerns about the speeding in Northampton. Specifically, Lakeview Drive, Topping Drive. There are other streets also in our neighborhood, including Old West Hampton Road and Ann Avenue. So we have the cars, we have the traffic that are coming into the neighborhood. They're coming off of Lake Avenue at the speed of at least 55 miles an hour, and also coming into the other side of our development off of County Road 51. So there are a lot of children in our neighborhood. We have wild animals, including a turkey that was hit in front of my house specifically. Just last week, we had a dog that was hit by a FedEx truck that was speeding, didn't even know they hit the dog, didn't even stop. So we would like to propose, we need help with speeding in our neighborhood. About a year or two, we did have help with our Wildwood Neighborhood Watch with the help of Lieutenant Susan Ralph. At that time, now she's retired. She did help us briefly with a street sign, with a speed sign we had for a couple days. It did help. There is another neighborhood next to us that does have a speed sign. If we could get that, that would be great. But at the very least, we're interested in your help with speed humps in the Northampton neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim? Is Tim here? Or, I'm sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was a narrow O.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Tom Zacharias. I live in the village, and I want to commend you for what you are working on because it's a difficult task. But what's happened is obviously the volume, as you so eloquently talk about, has overwhelmed County Road 39. Now, I love the cops and cones and the ideas to get as much staying on County Road 39. I just had two ideas, if I could just throw them out. One is to study the cause of the 100 accidents that have happened, and is there a theme there because when we have those accidents, it really shuts down the whole village, because County Road 39 is shut down and everybody spills out and all the roads are in gridlock. And that's the worst situation. I think the idea of the ban of needless development on 39 is good because it was considered to be a bypass, not really a shopping street and all this stuff. So I think an aggressive relook at what could be done to prevent it being any worse is within your authority, because really we're at kind of desperate ways right now on trying to keep the cars going through, because if they don't go through on 39, they go on the side streets. And then the third idea was kind of, maybe it's on your list of options not taken, but the bypass route. There's an interesting PSE&G easement that's 60 feet wide that goes from kind of like Lobster Inn up around Bridgehampton to East Hampton. We should study whether we're working on that. You're studying that.
The county is.
Okay.
The county's looking at that. They're looking at everything.
So that's not you guys?
The county is doing the County Road 39 study.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is something that is being looked at.
Because if it's been done elsewhere, I mean, I think it's being done in California where they have similar problems and they're using electric easements to kind of route some traffic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Looks like John.
Hello. My name is Travis Corwin, actually. Jonathan's my first name. It's how I wrote Jonathan. It's okay. There's something that we've talked about this traffic. Obviously, we have a serious traffic problem. Something we don't really discuss is the cost for the taxpayer residents for this traffic. We're sitting in this traffic every day. We're all inconvenienced by it. It impacts our health, the cleanliness of the village, the accidents, our time. The expense of this traffic to the taxpayers is incalculable. It's not about money, it's not about time, it's about everything. There's very little that we're doing to manage that. The only thing that I can think of that could help this is a toll on both of the bridges. You could very easily, with today's technology, put a toll system on the two bridges coming over the canal. You could make it free for residents so it doesn't have any impact on local residents. The amount of money generated from it could go to help the LIRR. It could help all your projects. The roads around here are terrible. It could help your infrastructure, your police. All of these great things you're talking about, the one thing that they have is a lack of funding. And you're asking for state funding and all these different problems. You have an incredible resource right here. If you charged even a small fee daily for non-resident cars, you could generate a lot of money. You know how many cars go over that bridge, so I know you know how much money you could generate, and the money could go to all sorts of things. At the very least, it maybe would lessen the amount of cars going over the bridge. I don't think that would really happen, but it would give you a source of revenue, very much needed revenue. So I don't know if that's been discussed, but I really hope it is. And this is the first meeting I've been able to attend. I'll be at future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Travis Corwin?
Oh, sorry, that was me.
Oh.
My first name is Jonathan. I thought you said
I have, yeah, okay, so John Friedman?
Oh, it's Julie.
Oh, I'm sorry, Julia. My apologies. Oh.
Any name, pick a name.
I also want to commend everybody here with all the work that you've done to try to solve these problems that we have. My name is Julia Friedman. I'm here as a representative of the Noyak Civic Council. So I was hoping to hear something about the road improvements on Noyak Road, but that was not part of this. Is that happening?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, we did talk about that there is a grant that Councilman Tommy John Scavone had received for some pedestrian safety upgrades, as well as the fact that we worked with the Highway Department. We are securing, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, about $2 million for the resurfacing project for next year?
In phases, yes.
In phases.
In phases, okay. Okay, my question, well, first of all, I'd like to make a comment on with Tommy John's presentation about the public transportation available. I think it's really great, but unfortunately, a lot of the traffic that we see has to do with people coming here in small commercial trucks. And, you know, they have to take their equipment with them if they're going to work out here. And most of the people most of the traffic we deal with has to do with landscaping and small building and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure, the spending that we're going to do with the MTA and all that. I'm not sure how that's really going to really help our problem. So I just wanted to state that. What I'm really interested, what I wanted to just bring up was the fact that a lot of the traffic that is coming here is very large commercial traffic. Huge 18-wheeler trucks, gigantic water carriers, gigantic oil trucks. And they are coming along Noyak Road, which is a very narrow road, completely lined with residential properties. And it's also a very curved road. I have nearly been run off the road myself at least twice by huge trucks coming over the double yellow line at a point where I have no place hardly to go. So I think my recommendation is, small commercial vehicles, fine. We need places for them to go. So two things. First of all, that PSEG easement study that you're doing, I think is a really good idea. And maybe it could be a good way to get some of the commercial traffic off of some of the residential roads. In other words, make it mostly for commercial traffic. And the other thing is, I really wondered, I'm not sure this is your jurisdiction. Is there some way to limit the size of the trucks coming along Noyak Road? That's my question.
I think it's been explored.
A certain tonnage,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
to just make it so that the trucks that come on the road are not going to run you off the road.
Right.
If you'd like to stay for a minute after the meeting, I could talk to you a little
Oh,
more detail
thank
about
you,
that.
thank you.
And you too, Travis. I could talk to you about the toll idea
Okay.
too.
I really appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank
and
you.
the council appreciates it, all the residents do. We know how hard you work. Thank you.
Thank you. Give Lorena our regards as well. Okay. We will now move to Zoom. If you can put your hand up so our AV team can identify you. Just keep to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody on Zoom, Kevin?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, we have about 15 minutes left.
Hi there, can you hear me? Hello?
Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you and see you.
Okay, terrific, thank you. My name is Andrew Roof, and I'm a resident of the town of Southampton, and I just wanted to call in, and I've been able to attend a few of these meetings and let you guys all know how much I appreciate the efforts that you're taking. I get that we're really faced with an incredibly different and tough problem here, and that there's not going to be one magic wand waved and we're going to solve all the problems, but I really think you guys have come up with some great incremental improvements and will continue to do so. I really like the additional police officers and that some of them will be dedicated to traffic. I think that's going to be a huge help to the residents of the community, and I'm just grateful, and I know many others are as well, that you guys are looking at this holistically, allowing these ideas to come forth. I think we've just heard two interesting ones. The right of way, I haven't heard that before of the power lines. I'm sure there's a whole host of reasons why that's difficult, but still it's something to think about. And I'm glad you guys are taking the time and effort to try and solve this. I loved I think one of the last meetings, the idea of the traffic coordinator, and I was wondering where we are with that. So there could be kind of a central person who could coordinate and be responsible for all these questions and kind of make sure that the short-sighted politics don't interfere with the longer-term vision that you guys who have the best interests of all members of the town at heart. And so I would like to see if that's something that we can get to fruition and move forward with that. And then not to take up any more time, just to, again, to reiterate, thank you guys so much for your efforts. I know this is hard. I know there's people who want to gum up the works for whatever reason, but you guys are plowing forward. You're using the resources that we have to try and make improvements, and it's greatly appreciated by many members of the community. So thank all of you. And Councilman Iacilli, thank you for leading this task force and for really continuing your efforts to improve the lives of all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'd like to actually thank the public for constantly coming to our meetings. Our last meeting is coming up next month, but I want to thank also the members of this board. I mean, we have Commissioner Bartha from the County DPW who has attended our meetings. I mean, the fact that, you know, you're spending time with our town is just, it really means a lot. We have Chairwoman Gorey. I mean, we have the police chief. It's great to have everybody here and working together. So I really appreciate everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Kevin, anybody else?
Bring them in. There's 3 more for this person.
Okay.
What happened?
Hello.
Oh, hi. Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Okay. Hi, Dorothy Frankel. I really thank you all, just like the gentleman before me. It's terrific, really. It's a big help to the community that you have this task force. I wanted to bring up a couple of topics. One, of course, was always Noyak Road. And in particular, the paving. I know we have phase 1 and 2. Phase 1 is North Sea to Whalebone. Phase 2, my understanding, was Whalebone to Trout Pond. Is there phase 3 after the construction of the sidewalks, Trout Pond to wherever the end is? I don't know, Charlie, are those the 3 phases? That's the one question. The other question was, it was great, Charlie came with 2 other guys from the department to look at my driveway in particular, because I have a blind driveway coming out towards the east. And I was very happy. We had a meeting. My concern now is follow-up. It's been 4 weeks. He saw the speeding on Noyak Road. Everybody said, step back. Cars are just coming by. But the problem is seeing out of the driveway. There are many driveways on Noyak Road that are blind driveways, and this one is sort of simple, I think, to sort of fix. With the landscaping towards the east needs to get cut back severely or removed, and I think they're telephone poles or cable poles. Charlie, you were going to investigate, could those poles get moved back? When we come out of our driveway, we have to come to the white line on the road to see, and we still can't see around this curve, but if some of the plantings went back further, we could see better. It's a tremendous hazard. And also the other topic for Noyak Road, because the speeding is so severe, is what's happening with maybe altering the road with speed tables where people can still go 30 miles an hour. We know the speed monitor right there, diagonally across from where I am, but it's before Millstone Road, is not an effective monitor. It's very intermittent, and it flashes, doesn't just stay on. And Michael, you were terrific about finding the good monitors that actually people respond to. And my question is, are we focusing on these good monitors so they actually do what they're supposed to do, which is to communicate to the driver, whoa, you're going too fast, take it down? Or are we just going to continue with these flimsy kind of monitors where they're on, they're off, people aren't attentive? So I really think it's essential that we buy quality things. I mean, here we are in the Hamptons, and we're all complaining about the speeding and people passing on Noyak Road, and it's just chaotic. And as you heard from the woman from Noyak CC, it's a residential road that became a thoroughfare, and it's okay, it became a thoroughfare.
Dorothy, you have to wrap up.
Yeah. So I just want to hear, I think it's important that we bring up a topic, we have open communication, we're professional, and then we have an answer and we have a timeline when these things are going to be solved, that it's not just up in the air and we're talking about it every meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dorothy. All right. There are 2 more. Kevin?
3 more for this one.
Hello? Oh, we don't hear you. We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself? Are you muted? Kevin,
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, sorry about that. Love technology. Hi, this is Ali Homayunpour, resident of Southampton town. I have been attending these meetings. I attended the first one in person. And in forums like this, you always hear about people's problems. You hear about things that are not being done or could be done better. I just wanted to take a minute and thank you for all of the work that you're doing. You're making a difference in people's lives. As we've heard from all the participants, the traffic issue is affecting people's lives. And you're all taking your time and you're doing it seriously to address these issues. So just taking the time to thank you all for all the work you're doing. You're making a difference. You have already made a difference, and I look forward to seeing what you can do going forward. And to Mr. Yassili, thank you for your leadership in moving these issues forward. Thank you. Looking forward to your good work in the future.
Thank you. Kevin, who's next? Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Yes. Linda Wells, Hampton Bays. Can you see me?
Yep.
Let's see. Okay.
We could see and hear you.
This is my first time attending this meeting, and I appreciate the ability to get to speak to you, even if for only 3 minutes. Mr. Neely, I did read the article in the Southampton Press about the traffic woes out here. Of course, anyone who ever come out here knows about the traffic woes. But I found most interesting your comments tonight about a blinking light at the intersection at St. Rosalie's and King Cullen, that you could gain a minute in your drive by perhaps making that a blinking traffic light. Currently, there is in the working stages, and has been for quite a while, a large, what I consider a large residential commercial development on Montauk Highway between Springville Cemetery Roads and Ponquaw Squaretown Roads. That's only 1,800 feet. And the developer has stated that he was going to ask for a traffic light in between those two traffic lights and those two roads. And additionally, that he was going to connect Montauk Highway with Good Ground Park Road, which is on a CPF property. And I can't imagine how adding what he said was 140-ish apartments where entry and exit would be limited primarily to Montauk Highway onto and off of Montauk Highway, or if you can run a road through a CPF park from Montauk Highway to Squiretown Road. So while you're thinking about gaining a minute, I know and I hope that this committee will think long and hard about the extra time it's going to take to bring all those people from those apartments onto and off of Montauk or Squiretown. And I just raised it for the first time. You probably are aware of it, but at one point the town even basically rezoned downtown District of Hampton Bays to, I believe, my opinion is to facilitate this development, which is west of the canal. So thank you for taking the time to listen, at least to my concerns.
Thank you. All right, Kevin, we have time for one last person.
It's not Discovery Land that she's talking about. I think she's talking about Heather Woods, which is an apartment. I assume I didn't want to start back and forth, but I figured that's what she's talking about. So I was going to suggest she speak to the planning board.
Hello? Well, we can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Catherine Littlefield. I live on Mill Farm Lane in Southampton, and I started out with the first of your meetings feeling that this could go nowhere. And I feel tonight that the enormity of the work that you have to do and have been doing is something that I never, ever could believe could get this much attention and hard work. I thank you, Mr. Iaselli, for all, and the whole committee. I appreciate all of your work, and I am particularly grateful to Mr. Ricardo, who has been an enormous help to our community. We not only have a vision of what you're working on and what is to come, but we in my community have seen the work that can be done. Small projects mean a lot. And Mr. Ricardo, through his efforts, has made us able to leave our driveways, walk our dogs, and be safe. And fixing a sinkhole, fixing the road, and we're hoping that we will get the road paved soon. And I just can't thank you enough. I feel emotional because when you feel unsafe where you live, it is an emotional issue, and I thank you very, very much, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate it. All right, that concludes our meeting. We are now 15 minutes over. We will have to conclude. I just want to once again thank the public for joining us. We really appreciate you for working with us, and the committee couldn't do it without you. So have a great night, and we will announce our next meeting. Do we have a date yet? We will announce our next meeting date very soon. Thank you very much. Take care. Good night.